How you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're looking at Alias. It's Marvel Max. It's the first appearance of Jessica Jones. I've never seen the show, but apparently people say the show was good. But it's a Marvel comic. This came out in 2001, I think, and this was Max was like an adult line of Marvel Comics. It was an experiment, so there could be nudity, there could be cursing and stuff like that. So just be warned before you watch the comic. I don't remember exactly what's in this. I literally read it in 2001 and then, moved on. So let's see. The cover price was $2.99. This is Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos. He's the writer. Michael Gaydos is the artist, colored by Matt Hollingsworth. I really enjoyed this series. I thought it was a phenomenal series. It was a little like I don't know, like Michael Bendis. He came into Marvel Comics like a superstar. I really enjoyed the Powers series that he wrote, so I was a fan of his. So I picked up this when he came over. But the problem with Michael Bendis is I don't know. He kind of gets superstar stuff and he does whatever he wants. So like when he made up this character, he retroactively inserted her into all of Marvel history. It was kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like you don't get to make up a brand new pet favorite character and then make her the coolest thing ever. Like you got to earn that position. So and it was kind of cool with this character, but I don't know. Brian Michael Bendis kind of gets on my nerves, and I'll leave it at that. Now he's at DC ruining Superman. So let's look at the indicia before we do anything. Yes, this is 2001. Okay, I was right. Alias. So, yeah, there you go. There's the first word in the comic. There you go. That sets the tone. So, Alias investigation. Back in 2001, I was more edgy than I am now. 3 panels. And this is like a weird period in Marvel history. Like, they were trying new things, which Marvel always tried new things. So, I can't fault them for that. And Brian Michael Bendis is the king of the decompressed comics. So we'll close this while I talk about that. When I talk about the decompressed comic book, that means they were very aware that trade paperbacks sell. And at this point, there was a lot of people who were just waiting for the trade. And what do they mean by that? Well, every 6 months or so, they would take the 6 regular floppy comics and bind them together and make a trade paperback. So you could get all, so people like 5 years down the road, you find out Alias is a great comic, you buy a bunch of trades, you get all the stories in like 3 comics, and it's cheaper, and you get a full, so this original, this was 5 issues for 1 story. So I'm sure they took all 5 issues, bound them together, and you could buy it cheaper and get it all at once. And I could see the appeal of that. I'm not going to argue that. But the problem is, for guys like me who bought a $3 regular comic, literally everything that could, those 5 issues, if you ask me, could be compressed down to 1 issue. Like a Jack Kirby, a Stan Lee comic, or a Steve Ditko comic, or a George Perez comic. All of that could happen in 1 issue. But instead, Brian Michael Bendis was the king of this. He would decompress. He would take 1 issue's worth of material and pad it out into 5 issues. And then wait for and then sell it in a trade paperback. And that was like, I guess Marvel thought that was going to be the new way. Unfortunately, it is the new way, but it just, so look at this. This is a Marvel comic book, 2002. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15 words on a whole page, and this is the beginning when I started to notice that it takes you 5 minutes to read a Marvel comic, and I'm kind of harsh, but I do enjoy it. So, and also look at the art style. This is like a, you've seen all the stuff on my, and I'm stumbling now because I'm trying to find the right word, but you've seen all of the wonderful artwork that I've showcased, and now we have this. Again, I enjoyed it when it came out, but looking back at it now, I know how Brian Michael Bendis was patient zero of the destruction of Marvel. So what we have now is, this is Jessica Jones. And Jessica Jones is supposed to be like a down on her luck, hard drinking, hard smoking, realistic girl. She owns a detective agency, Alias Investigation. So she's a private detective. And I think she was one of the, I said a few times in a few videos that I got into private detective comics. And I think she probably was the reason I really, at the time I really enjoyed this, but looking back, You know, if I knew what was going to happen to Marvel, I would have used a time machine and erased Brian Michael Bendis from the comic book world. So here she is. She was originally supposed to be Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. Jessica Drew Spider-Woman was a private detective. You know, she worked in San Francisco, and she, you hired her out as a private detective. And but when Brian Michael Bendis, he proposed it, or I think it was originally okayed, and then when they saw what he was going to do to Jessica Drew, if you've seen the Jessica Jones TV show, you know what I'm talking about. So they said you can't do that, so he made up a new character. So enter Jessica Jones. So the story is this guy hired her to find out if his wife's cheating on him. So not only did she prove that the wife is cheating on him, but he also found out that his wife is a mutant. So he was prepared to have a cheating wife, but he was not prepared to have a mutant wife. So he freaks out and he goes to choke her out, and Jessica Jones throws him through the window. Look at that whole page. Look at that. Look at that whole page. There you go. Modern Marvel. And you know you want it. So that's a hint of things to come. So the police comes to do the police report, and here we have, that's her in her superhero costume. So Jessica Jones was a superhero who went by the name Jewel. She had a short and I guess non-illustrious career. She was an Avenger. She was this, she was that. And I don't like that. I have all the Avengers comics. I have Avengers 1 to 400 and something. I've never seen Jewel. I don't like when they just reinsert and, so he should have had her as like tried out for the Avengers, and the Avengers don't remember her and stuff like that. But there you go. So, and the cop's like, weren't you Jewel? Weren't you that superhero Jewel? So there you go. In her youth, she was Jewel. I didn't see the Jessica Jones show. Did they have her as a costume superhero at one point? So here, they check it out on the pictures. Here she is. This is Carol Danvers. This is the costume everybody likes, not the new costume, if you ask me. The new costume looks like a military uniform rather than a superhero costume. Yes, there's a difference. So he's answered the question, stuff like that. Not Jessica Jones. She's embarrassed by her past. And here's some collectible card games. Collectible card games. Oh man, were they big back then? Look at the art back then. There's Black Widow. There's Elektra. Marvel was really playing up the sexy woman, thing back then. Completely different than what's going on now. And now we have two people. She's a former superhero. She used to be an Avenger. She could fly. She could shoot laser beams. She still can. And it's just talking heads. Static shot, static shot, static shot. Wasted space, wasted space. And I blame Brian Michael Bendis for the state of modern Marvel Comics. He's patient zero. So, this was fun. This was fun. Spider-Man's Tangled Web. This was like stories about people in Spider-Man's world, from their point of view. There was one issue where the Rhino got super intelligence, and he realized what a joke he was, and he got rid of his super intelligence, went back to being plain old Rhino. It was actually kind of sad. So look at this whole page. Did you read everything yet? I gave you enough time. You guys get what I'm saying, or am I being picky? She's just, and look at this whole page. So she goes to the bar and she drinks till she passes out. I just want to draw a conclusion. At the same time that this was coming out, maybe a year or two before this, Chase by DC was coming out. So I don't know what was going on in the world, in the air, in the ethers, whatever. But DC had a very similar character, Chase Cameron. Chase, I showcased that comic a couple of days ago. I really enjoyed Chase. Art is wonderful. The story was cool. She was a government agent whose job was to police the superheroes, and she hated superheroes. But turns out that she had a superpower, and her superpower was to be able to shut off other people's superpowers. So she became a very efficient agent, and she was hard drinking, hard smoking, down on her luck woman. So I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of copying anybody else. Coincidences happen, and I've always said, people read the same books, especially comic book people. They read the same books, they watch the same TV shows. Synchronicity happens. So whatever. But there you go. I'll leave it at that. That's Luke Cage, Power Man. He now owns a bar. She goes to the bar, and she gets really drunk. She's passing out on the bar, and they're talking. And Luke Cage takes her back to the bar and has sex with her. And I'm not going to go into the details. I kind of described what type of sex they're having. And so there you go. Luke Cage great Marvel hero takes advantage of drunk girls, and explain it away all you want. She's passed out on the bar, okay? Justify it all you want. They end up getting married later on and having kids, but right here, Luke Cage picks up a drunk girl at the bar and has sex with her, and she's actually crying because it hurts. There you go. So I want to feel something different. There you go. I'll give you a minute. So here's a whole page, a lot of words. I'll give you this page. I'll be quiet for a second so you can read all. So you can read it all. Okay, you done reading it? All right. I'm actually getting aggravated. So here's another page. Everything's wasted. Look at all this wasted space. Now this is Brian Bendis dialogue, and you know what? I'm not going to say anything bad about this because this is approximating real speech. You do step over each other, you do interrupt each other real speech. So I don't have a problem with that. So so she's taken another case to solve. Look at this, Brian Michael Bendis, Alex Mel. He did Daredevil now. Brian Michael Bendis just like took over Marvel, and here you go, 3 exact same panels, but this is the femme fatale walks into the office, hires the private detective. So they're playing with the tropes. So I do like this, but same panel, close up, same panel, close up, same panel, closer, same panel. Ah, yeah, and then wasted space. The story was good. The story was good, but so she's hiring Jessica Jones to look for her missing daughter. Now, I do like what Jessica Jones. Your daughter is an adult, and your daughter came from a troubled family, and a lot of troubled people just run away and go missing and start a new life, and the mother doesn't want to hear it. So she takes the case because she needs the money because she's a loser. And here she is, she's stalking, and she finds the daughter because, I guess the daughter didn't make it that too hard. And she sees this guy, so now she's spying on him. She's like, okay, she ran away to live with her boyfriend, no big deal. Guy checks his beeper, and surveillance equipment, and the boyfriend's Captain America. So now Captain America gets dressed and runs away, and she's freaking out because she just found out Captain America's secret identity. The only problem is Captain America revealed his secret identity 15 years previous to this, and the whole world knew that he was Steve Rogers. Unless there's like a Mephisto type thing that erased everybody's world, everybody knows Captain America Steve. So stuff like that just drives me nuts. So I liked Alias when it came out. That was also 20 years ago. Maybe I was a different person then, but I'm not a fan of Brian Michael Bendis anymore. I wanted to do this comic because I wanted to showcase the first appearance of Jessica Jones, and this stuff that the stories in this are pretty good, and I think it follows the TV show pretty closely. I didn't see the TV show. I thought the Daredevil Netflix show was amazing. The Punisher was amazing, and I didn't watch the Jessica Jones. I didn't watch the Luke Cage, and I didn't watch the Iron Fist yet. I will, because the Netflix ones I really did enjoy. So I'll go back and watch them. I just got so much. I've been doing nothing but reading comics for the past year. Hardly watching any TV at all. So this is worth it. This is a good comic. If you get the trade paperbacks, I guarantee it reads better than the individual copies, floppies, once a month. I'm an old school guy. I don't read them on the computer, and I don't get the trades. I get the floppies. I'm set in my ways. So I probably read it the worst way. It does read better as the trade. Brian Michael Bendis, I avoid him like the plague these days. It's the same thing. The men superheroes are always bad. I don't know. Like, if you read his Superman, I don't even want to get into it, but he's not super. His Superman story, oh, God, I just didn't like it. I could only imagine what he would do to Batman. But I for a while, I got anything with Brian Michael Bendis, and then I just realized, I just feel dirty after I reading his stuff. I don't know what it is. He went to DC, and I said, sayonara, good riddance. And then now he's destroying DC. And I do. I unabashedly, I'll say that Brian Brian Michael Bendis is patient zero of the decline of Marvel and DC. He sometimes a writer comes in and changes the tone of the entire company. Alan Moore did it. Garth Ennis, I think, did it. And Alan Moore loved superheroes, but he was a genius who looked from a different perspective. Neil Gaiman, I think he loves superheroes, and he looked at things from a different perspective. Garth Ennis hates superheroes, but he was talented enough to make it work, and he was smart enough to avoid it. Like, he took the Punisher and Hitman and Demon, But Brian Michael Bendis, I don't know if he likes superheroes or not, because he's just, I don't know. Like, I don't want to see superheroes deconstructed anymore. Since 1985, The Watchmen, I've been seeing superheroes deconstructed. Okay, let's move on. It's been over 30 years. Okay, let's move on. Let's tell some superhero stories again. Enough with the deconstructed superheroes. Stan Lee showed that they were flawed. And that was really cool because you had cartoon characters. He made them human. Peter Parker was flawed. He had a temper. He was kind of a jerk, but he was a good guy. And, he recognized that his flaws and he was overcoming them. But he just wasn't like a pass out in a bar, get picked up by people drunk. He wasn't like a nasty person when nobody was around. When nobody's around, Peter Parker was still a good guy. I don't know. Brian Michael Bendis, Go get therapy, and they just give him bucket loads of money to write comics. I thought he destroyed the Avengers. This was his own character, so do whatever you want. I just didn't like that she was like inserted everywhere like a retroactive octopus all throughout Marvel Universe. There was one cool thing that he did do, is that she went to school with Peter Parker, the same high school, and she had a crush on Peter Parker. Why didn't we know about this? Why didn't Peter Parker ever? Because her origin was her car. She was driving with her parents in a car, and the car got hit by like a meteor, and the parents died instantly, and she was in a coma for like 2 years. And when she woke up, she had the powers. That's her secret origin. So, she's supposed to be tragic. Her parents were killed as part of her origin. And then she's a young, naive superhero, and she goes out and she gets tricked into fighting the Avengers, and then, of course, they think she's swell, and she joins the team. And then the Purple Man comes, and you all know about the Purple Man. And that was the end of her superhero career. So for 2 years, like, Peter Parker goes, "Oh, wow, you're the coma girl, because I remember you from freshman year." So, when Peter Parker started, it was his senior year, or his junior year. So we didn't see her because she was in a coma. I thought that was kind of a clever way of inserting her into Peter Parker's life. There you go. But that's, do I recommend this? It's worth reading. Get the trade paperbacks. You could get them for like $6 each. I think there's 40 issues in the comics. Then there was a second series of more of like the newspaper, and it was like her and Ben Ulrich going out and reporting and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. But she showed up in the Avengers when Brian Michael Bendis wrote the Avengers, and I don't like this cool new trend of superheroes not having names, so she's in the Avengers and she's Jessica Jones. She used to be called Jewel. What's her superhero name? Luke Cage, he was the first and only one. I'll buy Luke Cage because Power Man is kind of a lame name. But now I'm rambling, so I'll stop now. In summary, this is a good comic. I enjoy it. But be prepared. It's deeply flawed. The art is subpar, if you ask me. I already talked about Matt Hollingsworth as a colorist when I talked about him in the Hawkeye comic. I don't know. I just think these are all, Brian Michael Bendis gets like superstar billing, but get an editor should work with him. I know, like, they're just like, I don't know, maybe scared to mess with him because he's a superstar now and they cost so much money and whatever. But I don't really need like. There's like 5 pages with like no dialogue. There's lots of wasted space in the art. They use the same panel. Look, same panel. It's just, I don't know. Just everybody's dirty. I just feel like I need a shower. It's just so, but it's Marvel Max, and Marvel Max went under. It didn't succeed. Gee, I wonder why. The Marvel Max Punishers. Oh my God. I loved them, but I'm never reading them again. They are that disturbing. But it makes sense in because the Punisher was the Punisher. It was the bad guys that existed in a world where the barriers were broken. They could be as disgusting as they wanted to be. Oh man, and they were disgusting. I lent one of the Punisher Max comics to my friend Mike. He said, "This is great. Never give me another comic like this again." All right, so there you go. I'm rambling. So thanks a lot. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch my videos, and I hope you enjoy this. This is an odd comic. Do I recommend it? Yes. If you're a fan of the Netflix show, if you understand that it's seedy and dark, and you want to take a shower after reading it, yes, I will recommend it. But I'm not a big fan of Brian Michael Bendis. I'm not a fan of this art, and I'm not a fan of this type of comic book. If this was a non-Marvel comic, I guess I would be more up on it. But there you go. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow with another comic. Bye-bye.